What's up, the internet? Bilbo here. I've got a quick tutorial for you guys today on a aggressive mob farm. The main reason you would want an aggressive mob farm, creepers specifically, would be the one thing that you can't get from any other farms because skeletons, zombies, and spiders are all going to have their own farms that I'm going to show you guys later, their own mob farms that utilize the mob spawners. They have the mob spawners that you find in caves, and we're gonna use those to make really quick rotten flesh for trading, bones for bone mealing, and thread for use in the making of wool. But if you want creepers specifically, this is the one you're gonna want to use. See, there comes a creeper right now. It's fairly easy to use. It is relatively resource intensive unless you put it underground, in which case mining it would be the hardest part. If you build it above ground, then you're gonna have to actually build the walls here. You know, you're gonna have to use, whether you use cobblestone or if you don't care what it looks like, you just want to use cheap resources, or you could use stone bricks if you want to make it look kind of cool. You could decorate it, turn it into a castle. I kind of threw some iron bars and stuff on it just to make it a little bit decorative. This is in my creative world, so it doesn't matter too much what it looks like right now. This was just for the sake of display, to make this all easy so I could copy and paste it a couple of times. I've had this going for about an hour now, and that's about the amount of resources that I've collected. We've got a full stack of gunpowder and about half a stack of gunpowder, and I haven't been in the prime position the whole time that I've been running it. This right here is the prime position. This is 32 blocks away from the back. Mobs will spawn, aggressive mobs will spawn in the dark between 24 and 32 blocks away from the player. So you want to stand about 32 blocks away from the back to get the best results from here. That's what this line here is. This is useless. That was just for the sake of counting out 32 blocks. The other thing you're going to want to do to boost your spawning count. See, I have some slimes over there. You're not going to want that. You're going to want to somehow control the spawning of other aggressive mobs in the area. So the best way to control, this is with any mob farm, the best way to control the fastest spawning is to do some dungeon or cave lighting. So you're going to go down into the ground, find all the local caves within 24 to 32 blocks of you. In fact, you really want to do it within 120 blocks of where you're going to AFK, and light all of that area up so that mobs can't spawn. The less area they have to spawn in, the better, because otherwise you'll hit a mob cap eventually after a few hours of AFKing, and it's going to slow down the spawning a lot. So I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide on how to build this here in just a minute. I just wanted to show you the inside of my first rough sketch of how it was going to go. The one I built after this works quite a bit faster than this one. But this is the one that I got the 1.5 stacks in about an hour. So you should, with the second version of it that I'm going to show you guys in a minute, you should be getting close to 2 stacks per hour of gunpowder. You can see down here you have platforms or shelves where the mobs are spawning here. And inside the shelves, another thing you'll notice, you have trapdoors all over the place. The trapdoors are there because mobs, when they are walking around on here, when they spawn inside this area, which is usually going to be dark because you're not going to have this hole in the ceiling. I just put that hole there so I could get in. So now it's nice and dark. This is a perfect place for mobs to spawn in. I'm going to punch that back out so we can see in the video. They don't see trapdoors as holes in the floor. They see it as something they can walk on. Whether they're open or closed, they see it exactly the same. They think that they can walk on it. So when you leave them open like this, they don't realize that there's a hole in the floor. They'll walk and they'll fall right in and into our water down here. The water is all going to push them, and I keep placing blocks. I don't have my controller on me right now, so bear with me as I keep throwing blocks on the ground and punching holes in the ground. That's going to, I messed that up by placing that block there. Let me try and fix that. There we go. Anyway, the water's all going to push them down from the back wall all the way down to the center here, and then we have water flowing in from each wall down here pushing them down onto magma blocks. The magma blocks are going to cause damage to them as they bounce on them. And as they get to the end here, the hoppers are not covered by the iron bars. The reason I did iron bars and not glass, you're going to want to do iron bars here instead of glass, is that if I place, you'll see if I place a glass block here, it's going to cover the hopper there. The items aren't going to be able to fall into the hopper. So you want it to be iron bars, so that see, half of the hopper is displayed there. When the items fall along the water here, they'll fall into the hopper. So let's go ahead and get out of this this mob farm, move on to the display, and these are the changes I made to my second version. I have the ceiling out on this one just so you guys can see it all. This is the first floor that I built. This is a copy of the first floor that I built. I like this one because it has a lot more space for them to fall into. They can't walk very far without falling into it. The other change I made is instead of it being 3 high, I originally built it with 3 blocks between this floor and the next shelf up. I changed it to 2 blocks. There's only 2 blocks between them now. So that's going to give it exactly enough space for them to spawn onto each floor. That's exactly enough space for a creeper to spawn onto. And it's going to keep things from Endermen from spawning in this area. Endermen, while you would think you would like for them to spawn in here because you want those end pearls, you actually don't. They're just going to teleport out of it if they do spawn in here. If they fall down and touch the water, they're going to start taking damage immediately. They're going to teleport out of it, and they will slow down the spawn rates once they get outside and they're walking around outside the area. They're slowing that spawn rate down by the slightest amount. So the more Endermen spawn, the slower the spawn rate. So we lowered it down to 2 blocks. It also makes it now where we can fit more shelves in. You're going to want to put 3 shelves in. I didn't build the 3rd shelf because I didn't think you needed to see a 3rd display. Another option for your shelf, other than this one that I have here, and I'll show you the numbers and the counting and stuff like that I have there in a second. But another option that's much easier and simpler to explain is this one here. I don't like this one as much because it doesn't seem like it worked as fast when I did a tester with just this kind of floor here. Mostly because the mobs spend a little bit more time, I'll show you, they spend a little bit more time on the shelf here without falling off. They will eventually wander around and fall off, but see that guy heading to the back corner there? He's not walking toward a hole in the ground. He may hang out there without dying for a little while, and we want them to die as quickly as possible. On this shelf, however, they can't really walk in any direction without falling off pretty quickly. And they're going to move around and push each other off too. So, the second shelf seems to be a slightly better design. You can do whichever one you want. This one was much easier to build, and it still gets pretty good rates. It also might potentially have faster spawn rates because it's larger. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. You guys are welcome to test them out and see which one you prefer. The 3rd floor here, same thing. It's going to be 2 blocks above the other floor. It's the 3rd block up. So you have the 1st block, 2nd block. This right here is where you're going to want to build it. All right, so the way that I built this floor right here, if this is the one you decide to build, I filled the floor in at first with these. I did cyan concrete just because I like the color. When you're building it in your survival world, you can build it with whatever kind of item you want. Build it with, again, cobblestone, stone blocks, sandstone, whatever you want, whatever you think is going to be aesthetically pleasing, or just a block you have an abundance of. So I filled it in completely, and then I left 2 blocks on the side and started from there, then punched out a 2-block wide hole in the floor all the way from front to back. Then moved along 2 more blocks here, and then it did another, punched out 2 more blocks, and then left 2 more blocks, and I did that all the way across. You should end up at the very end with 2 blocks again. Now this this room is, let's see, I think it is 15 blocks wide total, from front to back, and it is 26 wide total side to side. With the walls, that's 17 by 28. So you see the long way there from that wall back there to this wall over here is 28 if you include the wall. Without the wall, just the floors that they can spawn on is 26 by 15. All right, so that's how you build the first one. I also punched a hole out all the way along this back wall and covered that in the what are these called? Trapdoors as well. That way it just gives a little bit more area for them to fall into. You don't have to do that. Honestly, however you build this floor is up to you. The main points here are that you want to give them a lot of area to spawn on and also a lot of area to fall into. Half and half is a pretty good ratio. All right, so that's the spawning platforms. That's pretty important. That's again, the walls here are 17 by 28. If you counted each one of those white and blue squares right there, that's staggered like a candy cane. That is 17 wide, and then that wall right there from wall to wall is 26. All right, so this right here, it was just an easier look since I had that other floor in the way. An easier look at the spawn platform that I have in there. I didn't go through and open up all the trapdoors because I felt like it was a waste of time. I already told you guys all of the trapdoors should be open. Now you know. But that right there is a pretty good display. It would be 2 wider over here in this area with the cyan blocks. But you get the picture. You can see here how I built it. If you want to take a screenshot and build it exactly like that, or this one's pretty easy to figure out. What I did here is I did a 2 block wide gap in the center. The long ways hole, it's 2 blocks wide right here. And then this hole here was 3 blocks wide. And that's just because it's an even number going the long way and an odd number going the short way. All right, so I'm going to move on now to where the water should be placed and how your bottom floor is going to be built to direct them all to the magma blocks. So to start with, the magma blocks is going to be a 2 by 5 flooring with hoppers at the end of it. So 2 by 6 if you include the hoppers, but without the hoppers, it's 2 by 5 magma blocks. Then you're going to move on. This floor right here is 2 by 14 of whatever block you want to build with. I'm going to go ahead and say iron blocks because that's what I'm using here. I know that's not what you're going to build it with, but 2 by 14 iron blocks here. And that's centered right on the 7th block from each direction on the magma blocks, and it is 1 block higher than the cobble blocks. So then moving on each side of that 2 by 14 floor, you have a 2 by 6 area. 2 by 6, that's on each side, and again 1 block higher than the 2 by 14. So you're going to do a 2 by 6 on each side there. Then moving up 1 more level, so again 1 up, you're going to do an 8 by 26. It is 8 deep from here to here, from the area that they drop off right there to that next step up. It's 8 wide and 26 long. So it goes all the way from wall to wall, 26, 8 by 26. Moving up onto the last level, you have a 5 by 26 area. So it's only 5 wide here. The places that you're going to want to put your water will kind of explain to you here why I did the dimensions that I did. So I'm going to start flying a little bit so that the water doesn't push me off. You're going to put a block of water on each one of these back here. An easy way of doing this in creative, if you want to do this with only 2 buckets of water, place one here and then place another one there. It didn't do it. Usually it'll close it in. You know, I forgot that I've only got it 5 wide. I won't do it here. So anyway, you're going to place it all the way from wall to wall, 1 block of water at a time. There you go. Now you see that the water is going to fill in this entire floor and push everything this way, but it doesn't spill off into this area. If it does spill into it, then you did something wrong. Go ahead and remove the water, recount, and adjust. Down here, you only want to put 1 bucket of water in this area right here. So you can see if I fall into this area right here, I'll float for a second, but as they move around, which they will naturally, the mobs will walk around naturally. If they walk this way, they're going to get pushed. Anywhere they walk, they're going to get pushed in this direction. And they're going to fall off here, and they're going to eventually wander. They're going to be pushed by the water into the killing chamber. The magma blocks is what's killing them. So we're going to put 1 more bucket of water over here, just in the far corner. And it's going to do the same thing. It's going to push them all into this direction. So this right here is where all of the mobs are going to die. I'm placing water everywhere. It doesn't matter. This is not my actual chamber that I use. So the other noteworthy thing is it doesn't really matter here how high you make this ceiling, as long as it is tall enough for them to, this ceiling here in particular, as long as it is tall enough for them to flow through onto the magma blocks and they're not going to hit their head and get stuck. Also, you want to make it a little bit high enough for the spiders to not grab onto it and for the water to keep pushing them. The spiders can get out of here, and they not get out completely, but they can crawl up onto the walls and hang out there for a little while, but eventually they'll fall down. I haven't had any trouble with spiders getting caught in this this build. So the best height that I've made this hole that I've come up with, and I've kind of liked between the appearance and the efficiency, is a hole that is what is that, four blocks high, and then as they fall into here, it moves down into 3 blocks high. That it's completely up to you guys. I'm sorry, it goes down to it stays 4 blocks high because it falls down down 1. That's completely up to you guys how high you make that. That's up to however you want to do it. So we went over the fact that the main box of the build is 17 by 28 blocks wide. The only dimension that I didn't give you is the height, and the reason I didn't give you a height is that you can make this as tall as you want. You can put in as many platforms as you want. I would go with about 3. That's what I think, that if you go any higher than that, you're not going to get much higher rates because it's going to start moving out of your spawn area. So you may have a very small spawn area within your range. So a 4th floor may not do very much for you. You're welcome to put a 4th floor, but I would only do 3, and then 2 blocks above the 3rd floor. So say this is the, I'm punching holes out again. Say this is the 3rd floor here. We're gonna do 2 blocks above that, and then this here is going to be the ceiling. So you're gonna fill the ceiling in, and you're also gonna fill the wall in like I have on this build over here. So you want to have it completely enclosed with no torches or lighting inside. That way it gets the best spawn rates. So I believe that pretty much concludes the entire build, and gives you all the details, all the information you should need to know on how to build it. Let's go ahead and check our rates here, see what we got. We're still at around the same amount as we were when we left. The reason for that is that I've spent a lot of my time while I was doing this video over out of the range, but you can see right as we came back over here, more started spawning. They probably weren't spawning pretty much the entire time we were over there at the other ones because we were out of its range. But they spawned pretty quickly. We've been sitting here for just a little while, and you've got a couple of skeletons in here. This is going to give you all of the resources you really should need in terms of rotten flesh, bones, arrows, and thread for beginning of the game. But when you start trading with villagers for rotten flesh, you're going to want a lot more than that. Or when you start bone mealing large forests or big AFK farms, you're going to want more bones than what this is going to give you. And same thing with the thread. If you build giant wool, pixel art, or anything like that, you're going to want more than what this is providing you in terms of thread. But this is going to be the fastest way to get gunpowder. You can also, another thing you could do to maximize your speeds here. Notice that while I'm standing here, I'm standing at 32 blocks away. You could build in that direction another one of these exactly the same distance away, 32 more blocks away, and then another one over on either on the east and west side of me. The reason, if you build 4 of them, all you're doing is maximizing the spawn area for these guys to spawn in. And again, you want to do it 30 with the back of it 32 blocks away from you. So you've got about, let's see, how many is this from the wall? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Until you get to the entrance there. So if you want to build multiple, build them all about the same distance from this. Build them all where you're standing 32 blocks away from the back wall. And that will give you much faster spawn rates than just one of them will. So let's see, we've talked about the spawn area, the platforms. We've talked about the killing chamber down here. We've talked about the best way to maximize your spawn rates by lighting up the caves around it, and we've talked about the trick for making them fall through the floor by putting the trapdoors. I can't imagine anything that I've missed in this video that you guys would need to know. I think I pretty much covered all of my bases, other than maybe the hopper and chest setup down here. If you already know how to do hoppers and chests, then you don't need to see this. But right here at the end where you have the hoppers are going to catch items that drop into the top of them. As this zombie dies here, we may be able to catch a glimpse of it. As he dies, he's going to drop rotten flesh into that hopper, and then that hopper is going to direct its items into the hopper underneath it. And then he should die in just a second. He's really not wanting to die. This dude's got plenty of health. How quickly it kills them doesn't matter that much, as long as they start moving out of the spawning area kind of quickly. The faster they move down, the faster the rates are going to be. All right, so it fell down into this hopper here. This hopper here, and then that one fell down into the hopper underneath that one, and this hopper is facing into that chest. That's all you need, is just one hopper into one chest. If you wanted, I set up two hoppers into one chest and then another hopper into another chest to give myself a much larger amount of space to collect items with, because I would probably AFK at this for large periods of time, 5 or 6 hours at a time, and pretty much fill this chest in one session. But you don't have to do that. You could honestly just put one set of hoppers underneath it with one double chest underneath it. That's all you really need. The iron bars are just decoration. You don't need to do that. That was just something that I decided to throw on there because I liked the way it looked. And that's it, guys. I'm going to be putting some videos up here pretty soon on how to do zombie and skeleton farms. They are built the same way, the zombie and skeleton farms. I'm going to show you how to do. It's going to be a 4-part series. The first part is going to show you how to build them where it just collects their items. You get no experience. The next one is going to show you how to soften in them. That's a term that means to weaken them, to do enough damage to them but not kill them, that it only takes one more hit to kill them. It's going to be built a little bit differently than the original one that just collects their items. That one's going to give you their items and their experience. You want their experience for if you ever plan on repairing your items or enchanting items. You're going to need the experience. The third video is going to show you how to it's going to show you how to maximize a lot of things. It's going to show you how to turn the farm on and off if you have an experienced farm where the mobs could build up for a large period of time, since it's not killing them on its own. You have to kill them, and it could crash the server. You're going to want to turn that one on and off using lighting. I'm going to show you how to do that using redstone and lighting. It's also going to show you how to separate out baby zombies and kill them on its own. That way they don't break your farm. Baby zombies have a habit of breaking certain spawning farms. This one right here won't be affected with it because it's not a spawning farm, but certain spawning farms do have trouble with baby zombies. And then the fourth video, the last video, is going to show you how to put multiple spawning farms together. So if you had, for instance, the one that I have, it is a zombie and skeleton farm within a short distance of each other, and I have them kind of crunched together in a way that it spawns mobs twice as fast, so I get twice as much experience from it, and I get both zombie and skeleton drops in the farm. So that's going to be the 4-part series that's coming out after this. I have already built a video on a spider spawner farm. I showed people how to build that in a survival world that is in my realm that I showed them that. So you see that it is not difficult to build in a survival world. And I also showed people how to build, in the end, a Enderman farm. Now, that video is not really worth checking out if you've not reached the end yet, unless you're just interested in seeing how it works. But it uses the spawning mechanics of Enderman and takes advantage of the spawning mechanics of Enderman inside the end. And I call that the end shucker. I don't have a name for this mob spawning farm just yet, so if you guys have a name for it, go ahead and put it down in the comments, and I'll change the name of the video eventually once I come up with a name of it for it. And I also don't have a name for the spider farm yet. But that concludes this video, guys. That's all I wanted to talk to you about. Again, my name is Bilbo. Thank you so much for checking my videos out. If you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to start a discussion, leave it in the comment section. And if you want to see more videos like this or check out the rest of my videos, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you, guys.